Okay, we are live for your watch along for the USA Grand Prix FP1. Let's see which teams are coming out showing some pace for this at the circuit of the Americas. I'm sorry for everyone who was expecting my live stream last night. I would have been on at 7:30. Unfortunately, my dog Senna decided to take a trip to the vets, have an operation. He's got a big cone on his head, and it meant, unfortunately, I was not able to be back and be present for a live show last night. But we're here now. We're here now. I hope you can join us so we can watch the FP1 together. I do know FP1 is normally the worst of all the streams. It's a bit boring. No one's really showing any race pace, but it might give us an idea whether there's been some improvements. Because I know, interestingly, I know Haas have brought some aero improvements to their floor and to parts of the bodywork. So we'll see if that's made a difference to their pump. Everyone's got a new livery for this one, aren't they? The Haas livery is quite cool. But this is the start of free practice 1. 2 minutes in. So, yeah, we'll see if we get any early indications of who is quick. Lando Norris there having a little problem in the pit lane. He's out on track now, though. The gloves will be off, though, won't they, this weekend? With Lando and Oscar. They'll be going at it. I had a great story last night as well. My show last night that I prepared was brilliant. I need to somehow do it. I might maybe tonight I'll before the sprint race, which is at 10:30 GMT UK time. Maybe we could do a little Friday night live, like a brief one, like a 20 minutes before sprint qualifying. Might be an option. So, hey, okay. Hello. Lovely to have you in the chat. Okay. Hey, Gemma. I know FP1's a bit boring, guys. I do know this. I am aware. FP1 is the most boring of all segments of the Grand Prix. I get it. I do get it. But we'll try and make it interesting. The thing is with this is we're going to see whether anyone's showing any sort of early signs of pace. Now, Ferrari, if we look at the last 2 Grand Prix, if we look at, like, if we take Baku and Singapore, you had the Ferraris coming out in FP1 and FP2 showing good pace. Lewis Hamilton was fastest in FP2 in Singapore. So we really just get an idea to see if there's been any improvements. I'm interested to see how Haas do, because Haas have got a new floor. Whether it's an entirely new floor, but they have got upgrades to Destroy Television. Nice to have you with us. Yeah, so Haas do have a new floor and they do have some new aero bits. And to be honest, I think they're the only team who are still... Well, Haas and Red Bull are the only teams really bringing any upgrades to their cars for the last 6 races. Hey, Destroy Television, I'm so sorry I wasn't on last night. I sent you a message through the chat because I saw your message. Just to be clear, I had a show lined up 7:30. My dog Senna, yeah, brilliant. My dog Senna had to go to the vets, had an operation. Was really quite poorly last night. He's got a big cone up around his head, which he's got to wear for the next 10 days. I just couldn't get away to do the show. It was a bloody stressful night, if I'm honest. And I prepared a really great show as well. So what I was saying is I might do it. Okay, guys. I believe Max can win the title. I believe Max. Listen, this is what I'm glad you said that. Okay. Let me tell you. I believe Max could win the title. If anyone can do it with 6 races left, it's Max Verstappen. However, I think now Oscar Piastri is basically... Now the gloves are off between him and Lando. I think we're going to see a different Oscar Piastri over this weekend. I do. I think Oscar Piastri has got more teeth than he's shown because he's been towing the McLaren line. But now I think he's like, you know what? I'm just going to win this damn World Drivers' Championship. And I think we're going to see a different Oscar. Oh, yeah, thanks to Troy. Yeah, family comes first. I know, and your dog is your family, right? Yeah, Senna he's a good boy, but he's not been well. He wasn't well last night. Coming out of the vets, he was not well. Honestly, when I went to pick him up from the vet. Okay, just to be clear, let me tell you about my dog. My dog Senna is an Akita. He's a small Akita, but he's an Akita. And if you know anything about dogs, Akitas are a very difficult breed. Anyway, the vet had to come out when I went to pick him up and said, "Excuse me, sir, would you mind helping me with your dog?" So I wander in to this big vet room, you want to call that, theatre. My dog had a big cone on his head and he'd scrambled under the side sort of metal shelving, and he'd scrambled under the bottom shelf. Under the bottom shelf, squished his head out, and all I saw was his little white paws and his head sticking out. And it was growling at him. I came in and he jumped on me like Scooby-Doo. Massive dog came running up, jumped on me like Scooby-Doo, like, get me out of here. It was quite amusing. But there you go. That's what happened to me last night. I'm really sorry. Yeah, so it was a bit of a nightmare. But we're here now. We're here now. We're here now. Yeah, it's a good. It's good that he's all right. To be fair. Oh, sorry, I've lost my chat window. Oh, what? Like, okay, great name. Yeah, Senna's a great name for a dog, Gemma. Great name for a dog. Okay. What do you think about Kushmani to F1? I think Kushmani's quick. I think his biggest problem is Alpine. He's been in an Alpine. Well, next season. Look, I'm being judgmental. Because next season, I think we're going to see a better Alpine team than we've got right now. I do. I think at the moment, Alpine are the worst team on the grid. There's been no developments because they've focused all on the 2026 car. They've done the right thing, securing a Mercedes power unit. That's a big tick. If they have built a good car on that power unit, we could see Alpine do what Williams did when Vols took over and took Williams from a P9 team to a P5 team. Now, if we see a big improvement in the chassis, suspension, aero under these new regulation changes with that Mercedes power unit, because I think the Mercedes power unit is going to be the best power unit, we could see an improvement in the Alpine. And I think, and here's the thing. That's the big question. Okay. It's about Colapinto, Crasher Pinto. It's right. I can only judge Colapinto from what I've seen this season. And if we compare him to Pierre Gasly, what Pierre Gasly has got out of the Alpine is more than a lot of drivers could do. He scored 20 points, scored all the points for Alpine. Colapinto's not scored 1 point. Do I think if he had less accidents, incidents, rookie errors, he could have scored 1 point? Possibly. I personally, so if I was Flavio Briatore, I would make a change. And whether it's Cush or whether they could get done or whether they could get I don't know. It's going to be a rookie of some description, right? And I think you got to remember in Formula One there is a political game, and I hate to say it, but it is true. There is kind of drivers from certain parts of the world bring certain money and certain fan base, and I think Yuki Tsunoda is a great example of this. I think Yuki is a good driver, as a race car driver, but he's had a lot of opportunities to stay in Formula One, which maybe other people have been dropped out of Formula One because of the backing he brings with him. He brings Honda. Honda have backed him from being a young boy. They invest heavily in him as an individual, whatever team he's at. And then if they are involved with a team, they push for Yuki to be part of that team. That's what's happened at Aston Martin. So Aston Martin have now obviously are being supplied by Honda engines, and they're now saying, well, maybe Yuki could have that reserve driver role at Aston Martin in 26. So I think here's the thing about Formula One. It's not always the best driver gets the chance. As a rookie, it's what else do they bring? Because a lot of rookies fail, right? And then it's not always the winner of F2 that does well in F1. Sometimes someone's finished third in F2 and does well in F1. Second in F2 does well in F1. So do I think Cush would do better than Colapinto? I think he could do, yeah. It wouldn't surprise me. And I think if he and what he could do for the sport, with fan bases in different territories around the world, I think he brings a lot more than Colapinto. But Colapinto does have a lot of financial backing that he brings into the Alpine team. So all these are factors with rookie drivers. And I know it's not fair. I do. But it's the way it goes. So Yuki can land an Aston in 27 because of Honda. Yuki has got, I will tell you right now, okay, it's that Yuki, if he gets dropped from Red Bull and Racing Bulls, I know for a fact that Aston Martin have offered him an opportunity to be their third driver, their reserve driver in 26. Yuki does not have a drive for 2026 confirmed yet. And way things are going in at Red Bull, there's a good chance he's not gonna be there. So Aston Martin have offered him a lifeline because of Honda. You can be our reserve driver. You're our understudy for Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso, and that's what happens. It's a very political game, and that's one of the things we don't really like about Formula One. Because there'll be guys out there who are quick that don't have sponsorship behind them. There'll be kids in karting that don't get the next opportunity because they just don't have the money. But they're the best. Unless you go through a driver program like Mercedes have got or Red Bull have got, where they invest in these young drivers and give them a chance without all the money behind them, because they just want the fastest drivers. And like what Toto Wolff does, he invests in these young drivers, brings them through the ranks like Kimi Antonelli, like George Russell, and then they sign to his management company for 5 years so he can recoup some of that investment. That's the way Formula One works. So yeah, that's basically Yuki's situation. So yeah, Cush Manny, why not? Why not? Yeah, why not get that seat? I think Colapinto has not done enough for me to secure a seat for 26. That's my view. I'll give you a quick update. So 46 minutes left. We've got Verstappen P1, Yuki Tsunoda P2 at the moment, Sainz P3, Hulkenberg P4, the Hulk. I'd love to see the Hulk do well in Audi next year. I think he could do, you know. And the word on the street is Audi's power unit is very good. Very good. They're just working on reliability. It's been on the dyno for months, which is a lot more than Ferrari. Ferrari's power unit seems like it could be an absolute bag of spanners. Hamilton, P6. I think that the surprises for 26 for me, and I don't know if it is a real surprise that I'm saying Aston Martin will be a front runner when Adrian Newey's designed the car. You know, he's won 14 World Constructors titles in his career. He is literally the MVP of Formula One. Forget Max Verstappen. Adrian Newey's the guy you want in your team. Even Christian Horner said he was the best signing he ever made at Red Bull. And he's right. So, yeah, I think... DT says the incredible Hulkenberg. Yeah. Do you know what? I was genning up. I was reminding myself of Hulkenberg's stats just today. He's raced in over 230 Grand Prix. He's literally the best driver never to have won a Grand Prix. Only got one podium, and that was this year. I mean, but survived all those years, 14 years in F1. Okay, so which team do I support? Oh, that's it's a really tough question, this, because if you have to have your allegiance with a team, I quite like drivers more than I like teams. But you know, honestly, if I was, so this is how I'd put it. I would drive any F1 car they'd give me. Any. Give me an Alpine. Give me any. But I like Aston Martin. And I like Ferrari. And I like Williams. So Williams have a special place for me, because I remember back when I used to watch the Grand Prix as a little boy in the 90s with Nigel Mansell when he won his world championship with a red 5. I'm going to come to that in a minute, Gemma. With the red 5, and he wins his world championship. I remember that season because it was the first one of those seasons where I was just like, I watched every race and I was hooked. So yeah, Williams have a special place for me. But then Senna in the McLaren. So I think I follow drivers more, or as a little boy, I followed drivers. When Senna, wherever Senna drove, I was like, come on, Senna, right? Senna was my hero. So yeah, which is funny because it wasn't always the best driver on the grid that I followed. Because when Michael Schumacher was dominant, he was not my favourite driver. Senna was still my favourite driver. So yeah, that's how it was. Yeah, destroy television next year. Be a Cadillac fan. Yeah, and Gemma says he's a big Stroll fan. Listen, stop beating me up about being fair to Lance Stroll, you lot. Honestly, okay, I know you're new to the chat, but I get so much shit from everyone because everyone in this chat loves to bash Lance Stroll, and I try and give a balanced view about Lance Stroll. I always remind people he's very quick over one lap, and he's an F2 champion. He's not slow. He just struggles over 70 laps. Not so much love for Yuki. I like Yuki as a person. I'm just a bit against people having sort of many years of opportunities where I think really we need to create seats, don't we, for new blood to come through. And I think sometimes people retaining seats because of their backers and sponsors is a bit unfair, because that's like, money talks, right? I think they take, I mean, if you look at people like Filip Drugovich, wins F2, doesn't get a drive in F1, it's because people like Yuki probably, taking seats that opportunities, then these good drivers don't get an opportunity. Cue Tony's song. No, I'm not doing the Bye Bye Yuki song today. I'm not doing it. Let it be known for the new people in chat, I've stated very neutral feelings towards Lance. Yeah, DT's been very balanced. It's mainly Gemma, James. Krakite was Yuki bashing a little bit. Not Yuki, Lance Stroll bashing a little bit. But yeah, DT's been pretty balanced and fair, if you ask me. And that's because me and DT quite like the idea of being invited onto Lawrence Stroll's massive yacht. And maybe, one day getting a discount at Aston Martin. So yeah, that would be good. It's going to be a late night for us tonight in the UK because the sprint qualifying at 10:30 UK time. Better have a bottle of wine before that. Gemma says, I've been balanced towards Stroll if you take a look at the early videos. Okay, I think Gemma's been quite fair. But Gemma is quite funny, to be honest. She's got some great one-liners. And you can't help who your dad is. Exactly. You can't help who your dad's a billionaire and he knows that you want to win a world championship, so he buys a Formula One. Well, he doesn't even buy a Formula One team. He buys the works. He buys the entire Aston Martin brand. Yeah. And then had to Formula One team as well. Yeah. Yeah, I know, you're right, DT. I tend to have fucked up times to watch. I got to wake up at 5 a.m. on the regular to catch him. Yeah. So, oh, this is a great question. Okay, I love this question. He says, do you think new regs will produce good racing because of the 50-50 split? Oh, I'm gonna be honest. I don't want to be right about this. I don't. Here's what I think about the new regulations. The 50-50 split is gonna create sort of, from a power point of view, I think it's hard to explain because I need to talk about aero. Right. So right now we've got the ground effect era where aero is so important to the car, and we've got wider tyres, and we've got an 85% internal combustion engine, 15% electrification, with a really complicated regeneration process through the exhaust gases. So what they've done is they go, hey, let's simplify this, make the engines cheaper. So we'll go, what we're going to do there, but we're going to increase electrification. Now, none of us F1 fans want electrification at all, but they've done it, and now and then instead of the exhaust gases, they're using regenerative braking, similar you get on a Tesla, to help charge the battery, right? So and what they've done is, and they've narrowed the tyres, and they've reduced the amount of aero on the car. So what they've effectively done is made the car less sticky to the road, okay? So what we're going to end up with is faster cars in a straight line, slower cars through the corners, which we're going, okay, well, the cars will probably be a couple of seconds a lap slower than we see now. So that's a bit of we don't really want that, right? But is the racing going to get better? So here's what I thought. When they first said that because of the way they're removing DRS, and they're going to have a boost button, which means that when you push the button, you get extra power for overtaking or defending. Now, I was thinking, that sounds great. As long as the drivers get to choose where they can have that extra power or where they can defend. Because DRS is a problem because you have DRS zones, right? And it's like, okay, so here's a DRS zone. You know, you get these DRS trains. And if each car's closer to each other, there's no benefit. It's just the cars going faster down the straight. Now, I thought, well, getting rid of that would be great because then you push the button to get the extra power. Well, then you can choose when to get that power, and it would stop the DRS trains, which would mean for more overtaking. So I'm thinking possibly better racing. Stay with me. But now the FIA is saying there's only going to be certain parts of the tracks where that button is going to be available for the extra power. So we're literally putting ourselves back in the same issue, the same problem that we've already got with DRS trains, where all the cars did get DRS at the same time, so they can't overtake, so there's no benefit. So it's like, I don't know. I think what we're going to have next year in 2026, because it's the first year of the major regulation change, there's going to be a gap from the fastest cars to the slowest cars of, it could be 3 to 4 seconds, that much, because the first year of a major regulation change, you have big winners and big losers. And then by the time you get to the second year, everyone's copied the designs of the cars that are winning, and the gap gets narrower and narrower and narrower, right? That's what happens with regulation changes. And because we've lost all of the ground effect and the aero advantages, it's going to become more about the power unit, and the engine's going to be the differentiator to which cars are going to win. So the power unit becomes the thing. And now I'm going to come to that point you've just made, which is brilliant, which is the losing of the battery power and how that affects performance. Well, we know the data that's come out from Red Bull and Ford powertrains is exactly that. They were losing power by the end of long straights. So the car would literally slow, not in the braking zone, because they just run out of power. Which is very bad, right? Because you don't want a car following you, and all of a sudden the car effectively braking in the fastest parts of the track. You're talking big accidents. That we don't want that. So what Red Bull have gone and done is they petitioned the FIA and said, look, you know this 50-50 split between internal combustion engine and the electrification. How about we have a margin of maybe up to 5% of variance? So if we do lose that power at the end of the straight, we can get an extra 5% of power from the internal combustion engine, i.e. that turns up a little bit to allow for that loss of battery power. And the FIA have said yes, to Toto Wolff's annoyance. And do you know who petitioned for that? It was Christian Horner that made that petition to the FIA to have that margin of variance, because he knew the Red Bull powertrain they were developing struggled at the end of the long straights. Exactly what you're talking about. So yeah, that's the real thing. And the drivers don't have to manage that power in a different way, because when you've got 50% electrification, yes, you've got regenerative braking, but the driving style is going to have to be different. The brakes are a lot smaller. Brembo have said the new brakes for 26, they don't know every car's got such a different design on how they're going to do regenerative braking that they're all asking for different things. So the brake discs on the rear are going to be a lot smaller than they are now, because they're trying to save weight. Because yeah, the actual battery motor is going to do a lot of the braking. So it's going to be very interesting. We're not going to know, is the honest answer. Okay, we're not going to know until Melbourne what the racing looks like. What I can tell you is the drivers on the simulators do not like the 2026 cars. They don't like it. Yeah, they do not like it. So Destroy Television, so my co-workers are all texting me pics and videos. They have such a good view. I should be there, goddammit. Yeah, Destroy, you didn't manage to get a blag and get there. Wow, I thought you were going to pull that one off. At least you've got a screen on, Gemma says. Yeah. I can't believe you didn't manage to blag it. So I'm just going to fill okay on what that is. So Destroy's over there, and his company have supplied a load of lighting equipment to do some filming and stands and stuff over in Austin, and he was trying to blag his way to get a ticket, and he hasn't been able to. So I guess Destroy Television sat in the office watching it. At least you're watching it, yeah. You know, maybe at least you're watching it. But I'm gutted for you. You couldn't get there. Yeah, so 26, a three-way fight with Max, George, and Alonso. Then, oh, great question. I think 20, and you're right, by the way, because Ferrari are not in that fight. Ferrari are not in that fight in 2026. No way. There's no way that Ferrari is going to be good in the beginning of 2026. Not a hope in hell. So I like the fact that you said that. I'll say yes. I would say Alonso is going to be a contender for sure. I think you can't write off Max, but I'm just not sure about their power unit either. If Ford and Red Bull Racing have got a power unit that's okay, then yeah, it's going to be Max and George. I would say that is... I can't rule out McLaren, but if I had to pick a McLaren driver, I would say Piastri. I do think Piastri's going to win the Drivers' World Championship. I think Max is going to make it exciting for us. But I think Piastri's going to win it. And I think Piastri, if McLaren give him a good car next year, they're running the Mercedes power unit again. So there's no reason to think that McLaren aren't going to bring a good package. So I think it's going to be, I think they're going to be my four teams at the top. And Ferrari aren't in there. I honestly think Ferrari could be, honestly, 5th, 6th team on the grid. What I think. And again, like I said, I'm a Ferrari fan, but that's my gut feeling. I think Ferrari are going to struggle early part of 26, or maybe for the whole of 26. So yeah. You don't like Oscar Piastri? Think he's overrated? Oh, I think he's cool, calm, and collected. I know in Baku we saw a little bit of. I mean, he finished 44 Grand Prix before then. I think, yeah, I think Oscar. I think I've said it before. You're gonna hate what I'm about to say now. I agree with that. It looked like in Baku that the pressure got to him because And I said this on my shows, like for him to, for him to jump the start and then have anti-stall and then go from P9 to the back of the grid and then crash on turn 5, I agree. And then not only that, with his qualifying performance, right, for crashing in qualifying Q3, yeah, I felt that was pressure getting to him. But then I have to also factor in 44 races without where he brought the car home, would suggest that it could have been a bad day at the office. I'm really, really interested to see what happens with Oscar this weekend. Very much so. That's what I really want to see, is how he handles this weekend. Now, McLaren have safely won the Constructors' Championship. The Drivers' Championship is his to lose. I think we're going to learn a lot this weekend about Oscar Piastri. That's what I think. Oh, Hamilton's put the car P1 in FP1 with a 134.8. Verstappen P2, Russell P3, celebrating his new 30 million a year contract. Hey, guess what? For all you Yuki bashers, Yuki's P4, Norris P5. I do like Carlos Sainz as well, P6. Lawson P7, Leclerc P8, Hulkenberg P9, Behrman P10, Antonelli P11, Alonso P12, Hadjar P13, Ocon P14, Albon P15, Piastri P16, Stroll P17, Gasly P18, Colapinto 19, and Bortoleto 20. Okay, so Alonso is currently P13 in FP1. Alonso really starts to show pace in FP. A lot of drivers do this. FP2 is when we start to see what the cars are really doing, I think. But as we don't have FP2, we're going to see it in sprint qualifying a little bit later tonight. We'll see who's got a quick car at 10:30 this evening. I mean, what do we learn in FP1? I always ask this. FP, like Gemma said, FP1 is always a bit of a freaking snooze fest, isn't it? I know that. We all know that. But sometimes we do learn something. Right now, I'm learning that Hamilton likes to see his car in P1, even in practice, because he's 6/10 quicker than Verstappen. Well, we all know what Verstappen likes to do. He basically sandbags until qualifying. So Norris is still 5/10 behind Hamilton. They're all running on the hard tyres as well. So that Hamilton lap isn't bad. So they've got 26 minutes left to dial in this car. For the sprint qualifying later will be definitely more interesting, because there's actually something to race for. I do like this track though. What do you think of this track? Circuit of the Americas. I like the elevation and the undulations. I think it's great. Oh, so Ocon's had a problem in the Haas. The Haas has got a great livery on it this weekend. Brand new livery. And they've really made it very American. Mario Andretti's there. He's been very vocal in the press this week, Mario Andretti, actually. Talking about Haas. So, are you talking about where we think Ferrari... Are we talking about... Yeah. So, okay, here's what I think. Ferrari next season, I think they're going to be midfield because of the power unit and because, well, unless something radical happens. Here's I'm going to tell you what Ferrari's best hope is that it's Christian Horner starts working with them. That's what they need. They need a dictator running that team. Being run by committee or weak leadership is a problem. That Ferrari team is in fractions. It's a mess. They've got engineers falling out with Fred Vasseur. You've got drivers looking to leave, like Charles Leclerc's team looking for a new drive for 27. The unrest is huge. Drivers publicly saying that the team decisions on the pit wall are just not good. Drivers asking for upgrades to the car that they couldn't get. It's and the powertrain losing their lead designer for the 26 power train over to Audi, where Binotto, former Ferrari team principal, is team principal at Audi for next season. Yeah, Zimmerman and a guy called Schmidt as well, who was the performance engineer. It's yeah, I mean, it doesn't look good. It's like 3 good people there out of the Ferrari team, senior people over at Audi now. Audi's power unit's been on the dyno for months, according to Wheatley. And all they're working on now is reliability. Yeah, that was funny. So Christian Horner, he ruined Red Bull to rebuild Ferrari. But you got to remember with Christian Horner, did he ruin Red Bull or did he build Red Bull from nothing to multiple driver championships, multiple world championships? I mean, however you look at it, his record is pretty epic. Yeah. He did some good work. You know, was it 8 in total? So you can't really deny that Horner was a winner. Even if you don't like him personally, I think you'd have to agree he's a winner. Oh, my stream is going to be cray at this end. So yeah, I think he is a winner, and here's the thing: that when I talk about Formula One teams, I talk about this a lot. When we look at all the great Formula One teams, and we think about those team principles, well, all of them were, I like to say, dictators in a nice way. So Frank Williams, it was his way or the highway. Ron Dennis, these are all world constructor titles winners. His way or the highway. Toto Wolff, his way or the highway. He's a Christian Horner. Even Flavio Briatore, when he was winning championships in Benetton and then Renault back in the 90s. They were all these big characters leading the team. You know, when they lost, it's their fault. When they won, they took the credit. But it wasn't, they were never teams run by committee, were they? And Ferrari, I think, would benefit. Well, okay, and let's look at Ferrari over the years. Well, how did Ferrari get their name, their legacy? Who was running the Ferrari racing team? The biggest dictator of them all, Enzo Ferrari. And that's why Ferrari became Ferrari, because he was a dictator. And I just think in motorsport, you need that one leading, one voice, right? So if you're Ferrari now, which is obviously a big billions and billions dollar company, you know, and you're Elkann, who's the chairman and majority shareholder, you got to pick your guy and let him go and do it. Just like if I owned Manchester United Football Club, you know, you pick your manager and you let him go and do the job. And then if he fails, he fails. But you give him everything he needs to do that. And I don't think that is what is happening at Ferrari. I think Fred Vasseur is more of a politician than a team leader. So I think that's what they need. And I think Elkann agrees with me, because he's going after Horner. He wants Horner there. They're talking at the moment. He is trying to get Horner at Ferrari, and he should do that. Like I said, the biggest, you know, dictator running a Formula One team was Enzo Ferrari himself. Was Hamilton's Ferrari his worst career choice, or did he really fall? Oh, did Merck really fall off? Well, here's the thing: Hamilton wanted to win a world championship in a Ferrari, because otherwise he's won all of his world championships. Okay, McLaren and Mercedes, but it was basically the same outfit. The way they operated wasn't, you know, if you want to, you know, if you want to win it in a Ferrari, every driver wants to win it in a Ferrari. Schumacher did it. Makes you a legend in Italy. the Tifosi. If you win a world championship, it's the glory. So do I think it was a bad decision by Hamilton? I'm going to say I don't think it was a bad decision by Hamilton, but I'm going to be controversial. I think it was a bad decision by Ferrari, is how I feel. I don't think Ferrari should have gone after Hamilton. I don't think he was the right guy for Ferrari. I don't. I know Hamilton would want to drive that. The reason being is you had Charles Leclerc on a long-term contract who is very quick. And you had Carlos Sainz, who was also an excellent second driver at Ferrari. I don't think going after Hamilton was the right move. If I was Ferrari, it would have been, if I'm really wanting to get the best driver I can get, if I couldn't get Max Verstappen, I would have stuck with Carlos Sainz and Leclerc at that time. So I don't think it was Hamilton's bad choice. If I'm Hamilton, I'm taking the opportunity to go and try my luck and try and win a world championship in a Ferrari. Of course I am. Of course I'm going to do that. I want to do that in a Ferrari. I don't think it was Hamilton's bad choice. I think Ferrari made a mistake in going after Hamilton. That's my view. And I think if Ferrari hadn't gone after Hamilton, he stays at Mercedes. You know, because Toto Wolff would have been loyal to Lewis. That the relationship between Toto Wolff and Lewis Hamilton is very different to the relationship between Toto Wolff and George Russell. Toto Wolff would have stayed with Hamilton to the end. Like, honestly, for as long as Hamilton wanted to drive, he would have stayed with Hamilton. What they achieved together would have meant that he never would have got rid of Lewis. So yeah, that's what I think. I think it was Ferrari's mistake to go after Hamilton, but I don't think it was a mistake for Hamilton to accept an opportunity to try and win a world championship in a Ferrari, because as a driver, I get it. Why wouldn't he? So that's what I think. Yeah, so I do have views on Kimi Antonelli. I think Kimi Antonelli could be a generational talent. I think he potentially is that good. I think Toto Wolff, it was a massive risk putting him in that Mercedes seat this soon, this early in his career. And I would have said it was a mistake to do it. I think George Russell did a couple of seasons at Williams and did great in a car that wasn't very good. He got a podium in a Williams. I think it was the only podium they got that year. So when he got his Mercedes seat to be Lewis's, number 2, he was ready. I think drivers benefit from that. Ollie Behrman, I think, is benefiting so much, and we will see the benefit of him driving a Haas this year when he gets his drive in a Ferrari, and he will. 2027, Ollie Behrman will be in a Ferrari seat, I think. But the benefit of him driving for Haas for 2 years, brilliant. Because we've seen him, he's reckless, he's got a lot of super license, he got a lot of penalty points on his super license from silly stuff, but he's quick. Look at him in the last Grand Prix, he's quick. And he's outperforming Esteban Ocon, who's a good driver. So yeah, I agree with you, okay, but shouldn't have been rushed into Monaco. No, he shouldn't. I think that was a mistake, and it could have killed him. It could have killed his career. And it nearly did, because he had 6 races either side of the halftime break, the summer break, where he was getting a lot of stick from the media, and he wasn't good enough. He was miles off the pace with George Russell. So I think it was a risk, and I think because of that, it's why Toto Wolff has basically reassured him and given him another year's contract, because Kimi needs that stability. So it'll be interesting to see how he does next year. But yeah, I think drivers benefit a lot with being in a midfield team, loaned out midfield team, good drivers, and they'll do well. And I think even better for Ollie Behrman, who's in a Haas, which is literally the lowest budget team in Formula One. You know, they're a P9 team. So if you're up there scoring points in a Haas, you're doing really well. Really well. So, OK says, would Max win if he won every race from now on? Oscar on podium, though. There's 63 points in it. So, if Oscar's on a podium, that's P3. Let's see, 6 races left. I think Oscar's going to have a DNF. 63 points in it. I'm not sure. So we get 15 and 10, so we can get 10 points on a race. That's 60 points. He could, if Oscar finished third in every race and Max won every race, then Piastri still wins by 3 points. So if Piastri gets Max, it's a struggle. We need Oscar to finish fourth in one of them for Max to have to win every race, and Piastri would have to finish third, no higher than third in 6 and fourth in another. So it's possible, but really it needs a DNF. Gemma says, Tubby says, let sleeping dogs lie. Senna, like the rest of us, is snoozing through FP1. Yeah. I know FP1's boring, but we've got 12 minutes left. We're all really rooting for what's going to go on at 10:30 tonight. Let's see the sprint qualifying. Let's see some actual pace. But just to be clear, let me give you a quick update. Hamilton is currently quickest in FP1. I like that. Then you got Norris, then Verstappen, then Russell, then Piastri, Tsunoda, Sainz, Lawson, Leclerc, Hulkenberg, Behrman, Antonelli, Alonso down to P13, Hadjar 14, Ocon, Albon, Bortoleto, Stroll in P18, Gasly P19, Colapinto P20. I mean, it doesn't mean a great deal, but I do like to see Hamilton's name at the top. It's nice to see it. Leclerc in P9. Just 10 minutes left. They probably will come out for. Everyone probably will come out for a hot lap in the last 10 minutes. I'm sure of it. Give us a real idea of some pace before they go into qualifying at P10 for the sprint race. Do you know what? Okay, we do you might have missed it, but on Wednesday night I always do a preview show where all of us guys get in the chat and we have our predictions. We do three predictions. We predict first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. We predict who's going to be like the driver of the day, who's going to like outperform their car and just be brilliant. And then we do a prediction for dipstick of the day, who we think is going to have an absolute nightmare weekend. So yeah, that's what we do. So I think Piastri's going to win. I think Verstappen's going to be second. I think Russell third. Lando fourth. Leclerc fifth. I think I'm totally wrong on this. I said my dipstick of the day was going to be Ollie Behrman, but I've really changed my mind. But I can't. I've already committed to it now. I think he's yeah. They're all predictions are on Wednesday. But I do think I've got it wrong with dipstick of the day. I've got a feeling Ollie Behrman's going to really do well now. He might even be driver of the day, because Gemma predicted Ollie Behrman was going to be driver of the day, and I think she might be right. If I'm honest, I think she might be right. Or Alonso, because that was mine. I've gone with Fernando Alonso is going to be my driver of the day. I went, oh yeah, and when I did the graphic, and everyone took the piss out of me because my graphic for Fernando Alonso, he looked like he had jaundice. He looked like he was yellow. I don't know why. I don't know why that happened, but he looked yellow. Yeah. So Gemma's Gemma's getting excited. Who are predicting what? Well, come on, okay. Tell me your predictions. What do you think? You can put them in this chat. Give us your top 5. Who do you think is going to have an absolute mare? Who's going to be your dipstick? And who do you think is going to be driver of the day? We're only talking about the Grand Prix. We didn't cover the sprint race, actually. We will next time, but Max won. Gemma said, yeah, about Fernando Alonso drinking carrot juice after a spray tan. Yeah, he was very yellow, wasn't he? Jesus. Stack my graphics person. Oh, wait, it's me. Yeah. Oscar P2. Okay. A little switcheroo on my prediction. You can't split your decision. You've got to commit. You got to go. It's similar to my. You've got to commit to one. George or Lando. I'm going. My prediction was George P3, Lando P4, Leclerc P5. P5 Hadjar. Really? He's got to be a driver of the day prediction, then surely. If Hadjar gets P5, he's got to get driver of the day. Oh, we're finally at the business end of FP1. I got a drinking game for Sunday. Every time the camera pans to a driver's girlfriend or celebrity, take a drink of your beer. That's brilliant. They do way too much of that. Yeah, that's a good one, and we'll do that. You go P3 George. That's what I went with, because Lando equals bottle. Oh, that's a great prediction. I love that. Hadjar driver of the day. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great prediction. Because I think Lando's going to bottle it as well. I think he's going to, I think he's going to do so. I don't know. I think the gloves are off. Alonso, by the way, has gone quickest, sector 1, sector 2 in FP1. Come on. He's putting a lap in here. Come on, Alonso. Alonso out on the hards as well. He's gone P1. No, he's on the softs. Alonso, P1 in FP1. He is my driver of the day prediction. Early signs that I'm going to be right with my Fernando Alonso prediction. Come on, Alonso. Alonso just put a time of 1:33.6. Faster than Max Verstappen. And the end of this FP1. Now we're going to see who's got some pace. Yeah, now we're going to see who's got some pace. So Alonso P1, Verstappen P2. Piastri's put it P3. 2/10 behind Alonso. 6 minutes left. Yeah, that's a good lap from Alonso, that. I like to see it. I'm here for it. I want Alonso to win his third World Championship at 45 next year. I do. I really want that to happen. All the guys in their 40s will just be, he's brilliant. Hey, Lance Stroll's put it P6, but he's still basically a second slower than Alonso. Hamilton P4, Tsunoda P6. Russell. So there's a mixture. Everyone's on the softs or the mediums. The softs look better, actually. Obviously, quicker, but it's not always the case. Behrman has put a P5 lap in. Still 7/10 behind Alonso. Yeah, my driver of the day prediction is Alonso. I like Alonso because he's the oldest guy on the grid, right? Yeah, I like him because he's the oldest guy on the grid. I think it'd be great for the 40-plus men, like myself, to have a world champion. Like, I'd love to see it. Because I don't think that's going to happen again. So I think Alonso, with an Adrian Newey car in 26, I think the stars could be aligning for a 45-year-old to win a World Drivers' Championship. I really do think it's possible. So I'm rooting for that storyline, if that makes sense. More than, say, Alonso, but that storyline I love. So I'm rooting for that. I really am. And Gemma says about Lance Stroll, he's took his dad's black Amex out of his back pocket. Norris has gone quickest. He's gone 3.5 tenths faster than Alonso. Just 4.5 minutes left now of FP1. Yeah, it gave him that edge. I like the idea of DT's. I like the idea of DT's drinking game Sunday. So OK says, I love Alonso because he resembles my grandfather. Jesus, he's not that old. He's only 44. Yeah, did you like, just by the way, did you watch the F1 movie? The Brad Pitt character. You're kind of rooting for him, aren't you? You're rooting for the old timer, you know? You're rooting for the old timer to win a Grand Prix. I was rooting for him. I was like, go on, son. Yeah, I liked it as well. I like the F1 movie. A lot of people didn't like it. I enjoyed it. I know it's not watching a real Grand Prix, is it? People are like, it would never happen, blah blah blah. But that's the point. It's a movie. It's not actually watching a Grand Prix. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. Gemma got free tickets. Brilliant. That's what we like. 3 minutes left. Alonso's but in the pits. He's happy with his P2. So I'll tell you who's not putting a good lap. Leclerc. Antonelli's not putting a fast lap. Albon's not putting a fast lap. Antonelli's on a lap now, though. This is his quick lap. Let's see. Oh, he's miles off. He's 4 tenths off in Sector 1. He's miles off. Not good. Exactly, DT. That's the point. It's not like you're watching a real Grand Prix, is it? It's a movie. So you've got to leave your brain at the door and just enjoy the movie for what it is. It was dead good. Whereas when I watched Le Mans 66, the Matt Damon, Christian Bale film about Ken Miles and Ford versus Ferrari, I actually felt that was quite realistic, and I loved that film. I know, even though I know it's a movie, but God, I love that movie. I love it. That Ford versus Ferrari story. 1966. What a movie. What a genuinely great story as well. Ken Miles got absolutely shafted. But yeah, I did love Le Mans 66. I think they called it Ford versus Ferrari in America, I think. Had a different name. So it annoys me when they do that. Just call the film one name right throughout the world. Changing it for different territories is well annoying. So just 1 minute 45 left. You've got Norris P1, Alonso P2, Verstappen P3, Hulkenberg P4. The Hulk's put in a reasonable time, P4. Piastri P5, Albon P6, Hamilton P7, Behrman P8, Ocon P9, Bortoletto P10, Tsunoda 11, Stroll P12. Looks like he's coming out for another lap, Stroll. He's not happy with Alonso going so much quicker than him. We've got George Russell P13, Lawson P14, Gasly 15, Antonelli 16. Antonelli's not found any speed yet. Hadjar 17, Colapinto 18, Sainz 19, and Leclerc's still not really putting he's P20. He's not even going for a lap. We've got 1 minute left though. Let's see who's actually trying to put in a quick lap. I think I saw Stroll coming out for a hot lap. Oh, what do you think about Cadillac? I love the Cadillac story. I love it. I love the Cadillac story. I think Cadillac have done absolutely the right thing in signing Bottas and Perez. Absolutely the right thing. Cadillac and you're right about that. And Cadillac, they've done the right thing signing 2 experienced drivers to help develop that team. They've grown. Check this out. They got their FIA license. It'll be exactly 364 days until the first race in Melbourne. 364 days from getting their license to build a team, build a car, a chassis to house that Ferrari power unit. And you're right, they should have gone with the Mercedes power unit. 100%. But Did you see, I did a show on this maybe last week. Bottas let it slip that he went to the Cadillac factory and they are so far ahead in development of that he thought they were going to be. Cadillac are going to have their own power unit by 2028. I didn't think Cadillac were going to have their own power unit until 2031 when the regulations change. So in 2 years' time, after 2 seasons in Formula One, Cadillac will have their own car, like chassis, suspension, aero, their own power unit. Those 2 drivers, Bottas and Perez, will help them build that team. They'll have Jack Crawford, who will have been their reserve driver, getting points, maybe the odd race, ready to step in at 22 to be an All-American driver. And then Colton Herta in F2, if he does well and wins, your All-American team literally set up in 2 years' time. And I think that is the fastest way to get what they want, which is an All-American team, All-American power unit. And I think the Cadillac story is fascinating. However, be prepared for next year to be pretty horrible. If they don't finish last, that's very, very good. Very, very good. Now, the 2031 regs are going back to V8. V8, no electrics. Going back to naturally aspirated V8s. Getting rid of the electrification. Literally getting rid of it. No more electrification. Going back the other way. Rewind. I can't wait. I wish they'd do it sooner. Hulkenberg with a quick lap. Look at that. He's gone P2. Wow. So this is how it's ended up in FP1. Norris, Hulkenberg, Piastri, Alonso, Verstappen, Albon, Russell, Hamilton, Hadjar, 10th Behrman, 11th Ocon, 12th Bortoletto, 13 Tsunoda, 14 Stroll, 15 Lawson, 16 Colapinto, 17 Gasly, 18 Antonelli, 19 Sainz, 20 Leclerc. This is going to make for a very interesting sprint qualifying a little later, because if you're seeing some teams showing a bit more pace. I mean, that Sauber, to be honest, is pretty impressive. Hulkenberg up there with an impressive time. Yeah, all right. Gives us something to get excited about for later, for our late night together. Yeah, so I will be back in how many hours' time? 3 hours' time. 3 hours' time for sprint qualifying. So we can all do that together if you're still out, you're still at work, or you're out and about. Not out and about. If you're near a monitor or your phone, we will be back on at 10:30 for sprint qualifying. I hope I get to see all of you joining me. I know FP1's boring. Thank you so much for being with us. Yeah, Leclerc 26. He didn't put any P20. He didn't put a time in at all. Did not put a time in at all. So join me at 10:30. Thank you so much for watching. I know FP1's a bit boring. We'll make sprint qualifying as fun as we can. I'll see you in 3 hours' time. Enjoy your evening. See you very, 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 very soon. Ta-ta.